Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. And here it is, the one you've been waiting for, the 2025 ABT Grand Final. This was an absolutely cracking event. It was held over two different venues, 3 days, starting at Marlo, heading down to Bemm River, back up to Marlo. It was excellent YouTube viewing. The tension and pressure on the last day was awesome for those concerned, and also people watching from the sidelines, watching the estimator scoreboards go up as Steve caught his fish. Was really, really awesome. All right, I'm going to roll the intros in a second, and then I'm going to just review the year that was, just run through who placed in the rounds, and then we'll get into the angler interviews. A great show, split into two parts. Really awesome. Here we go.
Welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target brim on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite brim competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here's your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
Okay, so this year kicked off in the mighty Gippsland Lakes with an app-based boater non-boater event, and the round sponsor was Duo. I was particularly excited about Duo. Just for those of you who don't know or forgot, that was one of the lures that helped me win the Worlds back in 2019 with the Duo Bivy, was reintroduced this year. Very exciting. Anyway, in first place in the boaters, we had Daryl Baird. Second place was Damien McGlynn, and a third place was Paul Holmes. Then across into the non-boaters, we had Simon Krause, Heath Kimber, and Nathan Booth. Moving on from there, we then went down to Malakuta. So this was the 22nd, 23rd. The round sponsor was Hummingbird. So I don't know whether you remember, but they actually went and jumped on Steve's boat. I think one of the main dudes down there decked his boat out with Hummingbird Mega Live. And that was one of the things that really helped Steve Morgan get a fantastic result there. And there was lots of vision of that, which was very cool. Of course, in first place was Mark Healy, Mario Vukic in second, Steve Morgan in third. And in the non-boaters, we had Tim Atkins, Alan Lavelle, and Harry Young. Then they totaled off to the Clarence River on the 29th and 30th of March. This was brought to you by Atomic. I think from memory, Atomic gave away a whole swag of fishing rods, which was pretty awesome. Of course, Mark Healy was on a roll by this stage, coming in first place, followed by Chris Hickson and Joe Darmody in third. In the non-boaters, we had John Parkinson, Ethan Glover, and Tyson Everly. After the Clarence, they went down to the Hawkesbury. So this was the bait junkie round, and also this was a maiden win for Peter Bruckle, who came in first place. Battle of the Marks in second, third, with Mark Crompton in second place and Mark Healy in third. Moving across to the non-boaters, we had Rodney O'Sullivan in first place, which was a cracking interview, followed by Aaron Bonza and Aaron Booby. I don't know what it was with this round. You had 2 Marks, 2 Aarons. It was very confusing for me. Now, although it wasn't part of the actual series, the ABT was on the road trip and they headed from the Hawkesbury River down to Sydney Harbour for the Australian Open. This was another cracking event with Jamie McEwen bringing it home, followed up by Steve Morgan, and closely behind was Tim Vickers. It was a great event. I was really happy to be a little bit of a part of that. After the Australian Open, the ABT headed across to Perth to the Blackwood River on the 17th and 18th of May, with Rob Dawson coming in first place, followed up by Greg Cooper, and then, of course, Mark Crompton in third place. In the non-boaters, we had Ben Oakes, Ruan Vanderberg, and Michael Samet. The next road trip for the ABT, well, it just ended up at Foster. I can't remember where the original round was, but either way, they moved it due to weather. They moved it into Foster as they felt it was a little bit safer. So the 4th and 5th of June, this one was brought to you by X-Braid, and with Mark Healy in first place, Stephen Pryke second, and Paul Langley in third. With the non-boaters, we had Ethan Glover in his maiden win. Dan Brown, I missed speaking to Dan Brown. I would have liked to have had to speak to Dan. And then Samuel Rako, and you know what happened with Sam. And then Foster 2 came around. Now, if anyone that listens to the show knows that I love it. Like fishing a week in Foster would have been like a dream for me. Anyway, first place, the other Mark Crompton, Chris Smith, Paul Langley. With the non-boaters, Mark Street, Lance Marsh, and Drew Reed. How good's that? And of course, before we move on, it would be remiss of me to move on without saying it was the Garmin event. Moving forward from there, we had the Queensland Open. So this was held on the Moreton Bay and Gold Coast. It was obviously the Samaki round. I think they've sponsored it for a couple of years. And of course, this was taken out by Luke Rogan, followed up by Bernard Kong and Mick Slade. Luke Rogan has absolutely been dominating the kayaks and went through there and did pretty well in the Queensland Open. Congratulations to Luke. After the Queensland Open, they were down to Tweed River on the 9th and 10th of August. And this one was taken out by none other than Joe Darmody, followed up by Mark Healy and Ben Cronk in third place, with the non-baiters taken out by Lance Marsh, Grant Painter in second, and Nathan Booth in third. And then finally returning to the the first Victorian Open, which was back where they started at Gippsland Lakes. This one was held on the 11th and 12th of October in 2025, with, of course, your first inaugural winner being Daniel Kent, Mitch Blomqvist in second, and David Harding in third. And that was another cracking event with some absolutely amazing fish. That is an absolutely great episode. And if you missed it last week, you definitely should tune back into that. Anyway, all of that being said, that all ended up culminating in the final event for the year, which was the ABT Grand Final. Like I said in the intro, this was held at Marlo and then Bemm River and then Marlo on the 14th, 15th, and 16th of October. It started as a boater, non-boater with a cut on the final day. It's an absolutely cracking event. It was too big for one show. Anyway, let's roll through the stats for this one and then we'll get into the angler interviews. All right. So on the 14th of October in Marlo, we had 10 in the fish activity wheel. Major bite period at 5:53 through to 8:23, with a minor bite period at 11:05 through to 12:35. Low tide was at 8:58 a.m. at 0.58. High tide was at 3:12 at 1:21. And they moved on to Bemm River, slightly better conditions. On the 15th of October, we had 22 in the fish activity wheel, with a major bite period at 6:05 through to 9:20, a minor bite period at 12:17 through to 1:17 p.m. High tide was at 4:50 a.m. at 0.98, running down to a low tide at 10:10 at 0.59. Finishing up on Marlo on the 16th of October, 36 in the fish activity wheel, major bite period at 7:45 through to 10:15, minor bite period at 1:28 p.m. through to 2:58. High tide was at 6:08 a.m. at 0.92, running down to a low tide at 11:33 at 0.51. All right, that was a big mouthful. Let me know if that was a good idea, if you'd like to run through and hear what happened, and we'll do it again for this and the others. If it wasn't good, then let me know too, and we won't do it next time. How good's that? All right, let's get into the angler interviews. Here we go. Okay, and coming in first place over the winner of the non-boater division, he dropped just one fish on day one for 1.54, backed it up with a full limit of 3 fish on day 2, weighing 1.8 kilos, which gave him a total of 4 out of a possible 6 fish for 3.340. And first place, I have Samuel Rako. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Thanks, Andrew. Appreciate having me back.
No worries. Did I get your surname right? Mate, what a win. You must be still pumped about that. It's only a couple of days ago.
Yeah, still smiling. Still can't get the smile off my face.
Absolutely, absolutely. And how'd you go carting back all that loot?
Lucky I've got a ute, so I just managed to squish it all into the toolbox and get it back. But just.
So good. All right, mate, we've got a bit to get through. So what we might do is dive straight in. Let's talk about pre-fish. Tell me, what did you get to do on pre-fish day?
My pre-fish day involved me driving down south. So the extent of my pre-fish was listening to some of your previous podcasts to get a rough idea of what I was doing.
Winning?
Yeah.
Winning, it must have, mate, you listen to the podcast, won the comp. Can't argue with that.
100%.
Okay, so which one was there any interviews or anything in particular that you really liked? Anything that stuck in your mind?
More just gave me a general idea of what I was actually fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And what I gathered was it was very similar sort of layout to St. George's Basin, which I fished a fair bit. So shallow flats, fishing edges, that sort of stuff. So it gave me a bit of an idea of what I was doing. But again, being a non-boater, I tend to find that if you do go out pre-fishing, you go jump on someone else's boat who's got a completely different plan anyway. So it sort of gives you an idea of what you're fishing. But if you found a spot with your boater the day before, it can't really pay any relevance to the guy that wants to fish something completely different. So it's sort of a catch-22.
100%. 100%. All right. Well, then leading into day one, so you headed off to Marlo. How many rods did you take with you and what did you have tied on?
I had 4 rods with me for the week. So I had a cranker crab on one rod. I had a crankbait on another rod. And then the other 2 had plastics, one with a hidden weight and one a little bit heavier.
Okay. Very cool. All right. Well, let's roll around into competition day. Who'd you draw? And then tell us about your day. Like you caught one fish, so it was obviously tough, but you caught the right one.
Yes. So I drew Ian Nielsen on day one.
Mm-hmm.
So he had pre-fished down there, obviously on the pre-fish day, but also done a bit throughout the rest of the year, coming down, doing a bit of exploration. So he found a bay right up in the back of the system.
Right.
Where he's wanting some fish up shallow. So he said, we're going to go there, we're going to go have a look, see what we can do.
Okay. All right. So when you left off, did you guys leave early in the pack or late in the pack?
I think we were maybe midway through. I think we were 16th, 17th, something like that.
Yeah, okay. And you went up the back there. Tell us about your fish. Tell us about what you did to catch that fish.
Yeah, so we there was a drain right in the back of this bay. So it was a shallow flat. And right in the back of it was a drain for another lake where it was draining into the main system. So we fished our way up through the back of it. We're seeing fish on live everywhere, all around us through the back of it. But they were just spooked. As soon as you threw a lure anywhere near them, they'd just take off. They weren't interested, just nothing at all. Couldn't get one to turn. They just took off as soon as the lure hit the water. So we kept putting in, managed to get up into the back of the system and started fishing this drain that was flowing out. So just picked up a plastic first, started casting that in. Very soonly realized that it was very snaggy, lots of rocks, lots of trees in there. So it ended up being every sort of 4th or 5th cast, no matter what I threw, would pop off. Threw everything except for a top water and pretty much lost everything I threw, whether it be a soft plastic, a hard body, a cranker crab, a mass. Didn't matter what I was throwing, it would eventually get snapped off.
Yeah, right. Right. So there's a drain up the back there with a treasure trove of lures hanging off it.
Yeah. If anyone wants the marks, let me know. I'll split the trove with you 50-50 if you go recover them.
Fair enough. All right. How'd you end up jagging this or getting this fish?
So after losing pretty much everything in my box, I managed to pull out a cranker crab. And I thought maybe with the claws coming up when they float, it might give me an option to not get snagged for a little bit. So I pitched it in on the side in the shallow water on the back and hopped it down and the lure stopped. Thought I got snagged and then the snag moved.
Right. Nice.
So it sort of drifted back out with the current because there's a fair bit of flow coming out with it. Drifted straight out the back. Didn't do anything. Kicked once when it saw the net and then went straight in.
Wow. This is a 1.5 kilo fish. That's crazy.
Yeah. Hooked just in the lip.
Yep.
Just in the top lip. Didn't fight. Didn't do nothing. Just swam straight in.
Just came for a boat ride. How good's that?
Yeah. Yep.
Very good, mate. Well, you must have been absolutely cheering to see that fish.
Yeah. I was stoked.
Very, very good. All right. So you took your fish back to the weigh-in. Where were you overnight?
I was 3rd overnight, surprisingly, for Victoria. I thought that fish would have been sort of an average fish.
Yeah, that's right. But it tells you how tough it was. Like everyone struggled.
Yeah, definitely.
Fair enough. All right. So you depart from Marlo. You're in 3rd place. Head up to Bemm River. Who'd you get paired with? And you got a full limit. So the day must have been quite different. So tell us about that.
Yes. So I was with Scott Cicluna on day 2. So we got to run around together. So we took off from the ramp, headed up on the western side of the basin, pulled up and pretty much straight away started marking fish on the live scope. Fish everywhere. But very similar to day 1, they were very spooky. Didn't really matter what we threw. They took off pretty quick. So we burnt around in that back corner for a little bit. I think I got one hit early, didn't hook up. And then we went for a run to the other side, had a look there, and it was dead. There was nothing there at all. So we ran back up to where we were and started fishing again up there. Started throwing a mix of soft plastics and hard bodies and all sorts of things. Around 9 to 9:30, I think it was, we went past Steve Morgan. And as you do when you go past each other, so put your hand up if you got your fish. And Steve put his hand up, said he had 5. So we had nothing at this stage. So having an idea from Morgo's highlights the day before, I knew that he was probably throwing the hybrid shrimp. So Being off the back of the boat, it's a little bit harder to throw a hybrid shrimp. So I dug around in my bag and pulled out the clone prawns. So still a shrimp prawn pattern.
Still a pro lure?
Correct. Something I could put on a jig head with a bit more weight and sink it down a bit quicker and fish it a little bit more effectively off the back of the boat. So that was around 9:15 that I tied that on. At 9:30, cast out, clunk, got a fish on. So winding it in, sort of cruising into the boat. It wasn't a big fish. It was definitely legal, but it wasn't big. So Scott grabbed the net, ran down the back, and it was sort of 2-3 meters off the back of the boat, and the lure just flung straight back at me.
Ouch. Ouch.
Wasn't pulling drag. Its head was up. It was coming straight in, and the lure just popped. So not sure what happened. I had 3-pound leader on, so I wasn't going too hard. Wasn't like I was yanking it too hard to pull the hook out. So just wasn't meant to be.
Yep. Okay.
So then from that point, we kept staying in that area, still throwing the hybrid shrimp. And then I managed to get another one around 10 o'clock, came into the bag. So that first fish was a 32 forker. So that went straight in the bag.
Nice. Yep. Very nice. So you would have been cheering after one fish on day one to at least get another fish. This is a good thing.
Yeah, I was a little bit iffy because it was about the same time that I got the one on day one.
Okay.
I was like, oh, hopefully this isn't a repeat with a much smaller fish. But about half an hour later, I managed to get another one.
Mm-hmm.
That fish was a little bit smaller. That was a 30 forker.
Okay.
Nothing for about an hour later.
Right.
So still throwing the clone prawn. So hopping along the bottom. And then I just feel clunk. Picked it up and started screaming off. Thought it was a flathead at first, then started giving some head shakes. And I was like, all right, we've got another good quality brim. So bring it up. Get a flash of it. It's silver. Yep, it's a brim. Keep going. About to put it in the net. It was a massive estuary perch.
Oh, no.
Bit disappointed. It was a very quality EP, but not one that you wanted a brim comp.
So have you got the third fish then?
No. So I've only got the 2 in there at the moment.
The 2 in there. Okay.
So I had that EP that I thought was and got that massive perch that I thought was a brim. Dealt with that. Ended up burning around again. Was getting a little bit later in the day. It was around 1:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30, something like that. Finally got my third fish.
Right. Okay.
So I was happy. It was a bit later in the day, but I had my bag, so I was happy with that.
And they were all on clone prawns?
I think the first 2 were, and I think the third one came on a sprat.
Okay. And what sort of weights were you running?
I think I was throwing 1/16 with the prawns and then 1/20 with the sprats.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. So not super light, but not super heavy either. So, all right. And did that round out your day?
No, there was a late upgrade around 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Right. Tell us about that.
So again, marking more fish out on the live scope, cast the head, sink it down, and then whack. Got another one. Not a huge fish. So that last one was a 29.5 forker, but it kicked out at 28. So a little bit of an upgrade.
Okay. So 140 grams you're in front.
That last upgrade would have...
was borderline.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still very, very good. All right. So you got 2 on the then the clone prawn.
Yep.
And then the last 2 on sprats?
I think the last 2 were on sprats. I think the last one, the very last upgrade might have been on a clone prawn again, but something like that, around 50-50.
Fair enough. And how are you feeling? So obviously 1 fish on day 1, filled out a bag. What were you think? What was in your mind?
On day 1, knowing what Victoria can produce, I was like, it's not a donut. It's not going to be anywhere near halfway up the field if I'm lucky. So,
and then day 2, once you've got your 3 fish, like you're sort of relying on what's in the apps. But were you thinking I've got this or I'm a chance, or what was in your mind?
Well, I had no service on day 2 at all. So none of my fish went into the app until later, and I couldn't check what the scoreboard was.
Okay.
So I think when I had my second or third fish in the well, I jumped on Scotty's phone, had a look, and I was still sitting, I think, 6th.
With 1 fish?
With 1 or 2 fish. Yeah, correct. Yeah, because the other fish hadn't gone in. Yeah.
Yeah, with 1 fish. Crazy.
Yeah. So knowing that I still had fish in the well that hadn't been in the app yet, I was like, oh, we might have a chance at this.
Very good. Very good. All right. Tell us about when you weighed in, and at the moment you thought, yep, I think I've got this.
Yeah. So Morgo was running a hot seat in the corner. So whoever was in the lead had to stand off to the side. So I rocked up to the weigh bag with my weigh bag, and Chris Hokin was standing off to the corner. So my fish, he had 3.15 for fish. So my fish went down and pipped him by 150, 200 odd gram. So managed to take the hot seat off him. So sorry, Chris.
You don't seem sorry.
No.
That's all right. Competition. So
it's a competition, but yeah.
Yeah.
So managed to take the hot seat off him. So I went and put my fish back in the lake and then headed over and got to stand in the corner for the rest of the comp. So slowly had to tick over everyone else that was above me the day before and also had a shot at it. Slowly kicked out Harry Young, who was leading it on day one. So he came, weighed his fish. Then we had Al Lavelle, who had a shot at it, fell a little bit shorter than what I had. And then the last one who had a shot was Lance Marsh. So he was one of the later ones to weigh in. So I had to stay in there the whole time, slowly waiting for him to go up. And he also fell short. Close.
Yeah, close. There wasn't much in it.
No, there wasn't at all by the end of it. So Lance was 140 grams lighter.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, you took it out. So you've taken out the non-boater champion for 2025 in, I think, what was your first full season. It's a great effort. All right, let's get into, mate, what did you get to take home? Now, I've seen this, but tell the listeners what you got to take home.
So I got an awesome first place prize. So the first thing that I got off the list was instant qualifications to next year's grand final. I got the first place badge. I got the ABT non-boater champion trophy and an absolute swag of gear. Everything from rods to reels to leaders to braided line to lures to jig heads, everything.
Yeah, so good. So good.
A massive, massive box of gear that just managed to fit into my toolbox on my ute.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, I kept looking at it going, that is just a great prize and I'm really happy for you. Well done.
Thank you.
All right, mate. Look, last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yes, of course. So definitely to Stephen Nicole and the rest of the team for ABT for running an absolutely amazing tournament. I've loved fishing it over the past year and a half and probably going to continue doing it into the future.
Very good.
Big thank you to Ian and Scotty for having me on their boats for the final, but also to all the other boats that I've had over the past year and a half. Every time I jump on someone's boat, always learning, always trying and experiencing new things, fishing new areas, new systems that I've never done. So wouldn't have been able to do anything without them. So massive thank you to everyone. And also a massive thank you to Dane from Zeus Tackle. He's an absolute legend.
Okay, so tell us, I know you spoke to Dane before you headed down there and what have you. How's he helped you in that endeavour?
So Dane always looks after me whenever I'm in store. He's always giving me discounts, helping me out with things that he hasn't got in store so I can send him a message and he can find things for me that he hasn't got. We'll keep things on the side. If there's something that I need, I can send him a message and say, hey, Dane, I need this. 5-10 minutes later, I've got a message. Yep, it's here in the corner for you. So he's an absolute legend.
Very, very good. And is Dane local to you?
Dane's about 20 minutes up the road, so not too far away.
All right. So his store's in Camden for those who don't know. Very good. All right, mate. I think that's a great wrap up. Look, congratulations on winning and your first full season of the ABT. And I look forward to seeing what happens next year. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Okay, so up next in second place for the non-boaters, having an angler dropping his 2 fish on day 1 at 1.64 kilos. He backed it up on day 2 with a full limit, weighing 1.560, giving him a total of 3.2 kilos even. And second place, I'd like to welcome back to the Bream Fishing Project, Lance Marsh.
G'day, Andrew. Thanks for having me again, mate.
Mate, like I was saying before, mate, we have had a number of chats now. You've been on the show quite a bunch of times now.
Yeah, I've had a really good end of year. 2 seconds and a first, the last 3 comps I've been in. So, yeah, that's really the end of good year. I started out a bit ordinary down south, but, yeah, I'm really happy with this year.
Yeah. And in terms of this competition, like this was tough for the non-boaters, and you end up with 5 out of the 6 fish, which was the best for the competition.
Yeah, like I said, I heard it was tough, but we didn't know it was how tough. We had nothing to compare to because we'd never fished the area before.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, looking at the results, there was quite a few people there did a lot worse than I did. So really happy, stoked with the 5 fish. That another one might have made a difference at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, it didn't. So it's just one of those places where we had to suck it and see, basically.
Exactly. All right, let's run around to pre-fish. How'd you go? Did you get a chance to have a bit of a look around on pre-fish day?
Yeah, we fished, or we put the boat on the water, put it that way. We put the boat on the Broad Rib up the boat ramp there.
Oh, yeah.
And just went down and had a look around, just side scanned it up and down. And I think we went down towards the first island, but yeah, we just got a couple of EPs, but no brim were landed at all.
Right.
Then we thought we better go and at least have a look at Bemm. So we went down and put the boat in the water, but it was blowing about, 30 knots. And it was just, we really over it by, across the lake a little bit. And we didn't know where the flats were. We hit a stump and a few other things. So we just canned it, and then, we'll just have to make do with other information some of the guys that give us along the way. So that was our pre.
Well, that sounds a bit rough. And look, pre-fish day was a bit tough weather-wise anyway. So, yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
It was really cold too.
That's right.
You've driven down from Queensland.
Well, there you go, mate. All right, let's roll into competition day. So day one, we're at Marlo. Who'd you get paired up with?
Yeah, I got paired up with David Yule again, third time with Dave.
Well, there you go.
He had 10 for lunch. That was good. Thank you, Dave. And some icy poles.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, Dave just didn't really have a plan. He was just going to wait and see. Apparently the water levels and everything were completely different to the last time we fished there. But we ended up just doing the snowy part around the Broad Rib.
Okay.
And just along the rocky edges, basically. Yeah, that was basically what we did. And I think there was about 3 or 4 others with us all day as well. So it was fairly popular along there.
Okay. And what did you do to target them? How did you catch your fish?
Well, Dave was watching them he's got the hummingbird gear, forward facing, and he was just sort of randomly casting around. And I couldn't really see anything except the rock wall. So I thought, well, Brim loved hanging around rocks, so that's where I cast. And I just chucked my old Z-Man prawn, motor oil one, along there. I think I was using about a 20th, fairly light rig because it's only shallow water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did pretty much half the day, was just throw that in there. And I got one fish, I don't know, maybe an hour in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good fish. So I'm thinking, don't change what's working. So I just kept going. Maybe I should have changed it up a bit. I'm not sure. But yeah, that we just persevered there for a while. Then went down to the first island, I think it's called along the sides of it. Some more rock walls there. A lot of other guys were there too. And we didn't do any good. I think Dave got a tailor and a salmon or something like that there, and flathead, and I didn't get anything. But yeah, it was a very long morning. We only had the one fish, both of us, so it was a long morning. The pizza was pretty good, and then I think there's a lake there, mate. I'm not sure what it's called, but
Lake Coringal.
Yeah, I think we sort of ventured up the bit of waterways that join it to the main body of water.
Oh yeah,
just narrow section of water, only like very shallow. I put a chubby on, just the brown chubby on, and picked my second fish up in there, and that was me for the day.
That was you for the day. So one on a motor oil Z-Man prawn and one on a brown Suji chubby.
Yeah, that was it.
That was you. Well, there you go. Well, in terms of the competition, you did quite well. Like you were sitting right up there, I think maybe in second place.
I was in second place, yep.
Very good. All right. So from Marlo, you headed off to Bemm on the second day. Who did you draw for your angler?
Tommy Deer I had on the second day.
Very good. Very good. All right. And you caught your limit that day. Tell us how that day was. Obviously, at least a slightly better day.
It was a beautiful day on the water. Tom hadn't been there for quite a while, but he did mention that the water level was really low. Last time he fished there, he found a few on the flats on the northwestern side of the river mouth, like comes into the lake.
Yeah.
So we went over there, mate. I think he said it was a bit different. There was a bit more weed there and like shallow. He had to like jack the main motor up to get over there. But I I just put the Z-Man prawn on again. I thought, well, it's worked once down here. I'll just try it out. And I think first or second cast, I got a 28.5 tipper. I think we needed 29s. I oh, bloody hell,
Okay.
5 minute board. Oh, that's going to be my day,
Yeah.
Yeah, so threw him back, and I ended up probably getting another 4 or 5, just undersized.
Right.
At least I was catching fish, and then things just went really quiet. Then Tom started catching them on the sprat. So I just changed over to a sprat, had a couple of hits and a flathead. Then we were sort of running out of time. It was getting late, and I think we only had about an hour to go. And he just went up. I think the tide changed as well. There was a little bit clearer water. He went right up on the shallow. And I mean, it was very shallow. We were throwing in probably maybe 300 mil of water, like a foot of water. And I got one good fish, so that put another one in the well. And then I dropped another really good fish. At this time, I put on the hybrid prawn,
Okay.
Morgo's favourite.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I thought the other things weren't working. Shallow water, I'll try something different. And I think I got the one, like, that made the second one in the well, lost a good one, and saw it take the prawn actually and just shook its head and spat it out.
Oh, no.
And and I then a couple of really big flathead. And and I think just probably about 20 minutes before we left, I got my third one, which was just I think it was about 30 tipper. So
Okay.
it was good to go and fill the bag anyway. But I probably ended up with at least 10 brim for the day. So they were there, just that took me forever to figure it out. Well, not that I did. I think, I don't know, mate. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, fair enough. But all in all, I mean, fortunately, you're able to get your bag. And I think it's interesting that you kind of wrapped it up with the hybrid prawn, hybrid shrimp.
Yeah, mate, I was just thinking, like, it's really shallow, and I'm guessing they haven't seen maybe that much down there. I know they get a pepper in these lakes and these systems, but yeah, I was just thinking something different. And I actually put the white one on,
Okay.
the white nipper or something. Anyway, I put that on. I could see it, and it was funny. I was doing this Malakuta with Andy Moore. Showed me how to do the skip and prawn sort of. When you cast out, you start winding back before it hits the water, so it just skips back toward you.
Yeah, okay.
So I was doing that, and I was throwing long cast, skipping it, about 6 foot back towards me, and just letting it sit.
Yeah.
Then, if nothing hit it, I'd just do a couple of quick jerks and let it sit again. And every time I caught something, it was when it was sitting on the bottom.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just, you go to lift it and there's weight on there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. And one of the good things about that is it does cast so far too. It's pretty easy to get good distance.
They go a mile, yeah. And like I said, we were just casting right up into this really shallow water. If anyone wants to catch some flathead, I recommend that spot. I reckon we spooked probably a dozen huge flathead out of there.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. So with regards to the fishing, first of all, what lines and leaders did you run down there?
I'm still running the X braid. Oh, the J braid, competition. Yeah. Expedition. Yeah,
Expedition? Yeah.
Yeah, it's 8 pound, and I only run a leader. Like, I was running a 4 pound leader.
Mm-hmm.
The J thread Daiwa.
Okay.
And that I used that all weekend. That combination. I took other rods, but that's what I used the whole time.
Yeah. Okay. And one other, just sort of a random question. In the 2 days, you spent a day on Marlo, day on Bemm, essentially. Did you learn anything? Is there anything that you took away from that?
Oh, look, mate, if I went back again next week, I would completely change the way I fished. I would put the hybrid prawn shrimp back on straight away, I think. I think I dudded myself a bit there by not trying it earlier.
Sure.
And I watched Morgo's highlights, and I saw how well he did. I'm thinking, yeah, if I went back there again, that thing would be straight on.
That'd be your thing. Well, how good is that?
Yeah, I reckon so, yeah.
All right, mate. With regards to the competition, coming in second place, what did you get to take home?
Oh, look, mate, I've got enough tackle here to last me 3 years. Thanks to all the sponsors that I got 3 of the clear satchels full of plastics and hard bodies, Daiwa, Rapala, Atomic, Cranker, got a Atomic Rod as well. So, yeah, thanks to all those guys. Also what else is in there? Some Hurricane stuff. Yeah, bit of everything. It's bloody fantastic.
How good is that? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mate, last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone that you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Oh, look, thanks to Daiwa, first of all. Really appreciate what they're doing for our sport and the quality of the gear. That's pretty much all I use is the Daiwa stuff. So thanks to those guys. Thanks to Nicole for running a great tournament as usual, and Steve, her offsider.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank the guys that we travelled with, Judd Kirkland and Chris Hokin, and, of course, son-in-law Joel, looks after his dear old father-in-law, and we had a really good time.
Exactly. And shout out to Joel. He smashed it. It was so good seeing him up on the top of the leaderboard day one.
Proud of him. He's come a long way. Like, this is his first year boating, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself, but this time I think he just went to go fishing because, like I said, neither of us had any idea what we're doing down there. And he's really well.
Yeah, no, he did. He did quite well. I was barracking for him on the sidelines, sort of thing. So
yeah, we were. It was a fairly happy house that night, and it was fun because the 4 of us for the grand final. So it was really good to see.
All right, very cool. All right, Lance, look, congratulations again on what was a great season and a great wrap-up. And, mate, hopefully I get to talk to you again soon.
Oh, that'd be fantastic, mate. Yeah, we're going to have that little spell now. I'm a bit buggered after this year, so I guess we'll have a bit of feed-up time till February.
Sounds like a plan. All right, thanks, Lance.
Thank you, mate. See you later.
Yeah. Okay, so first up in the non-boating division, in third place, I have an angler dropping 1 fish for 1.25 kilos at Marlo. He backed it up at Bemm River for 3 fish for 1.905, which gave him a total of 4 fish for 3.155 and third place. I have Chris Hokin. Welcome to the show, mate.
How's it going, mate?
Mate, it's very, very good. Mate, it's an interesting one, mate. Tough conditions, but you'd still got a good result.
It was real tough. It was even tougher on the pre-fish, but happy with the result.
Absolutely. And you can see through the field, whether it's boaters or non-boaters, a lot of people, it was hard to catch fish, but like you did on day one, when they got them, often they were a good fish.
Yeah, day one was a 1 cast and 1 good fish. You just can't stop casting. You never know when that big fish is going to eat.
That's right. You never know when the bite's going to be.
Yeah.
All right. Let's roll the clock back to pre-fish. Tell me, did you get a chance to get out and have a look around in either of the arenas?
Yeah, so me and Judd went pre-fish Marlo first thing in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-fished the mouth of the river for about half an hour. Judd picked up a nice 36 forker, and then I didn't get a bite at all.
Ouch.
Yeah, that happens.
It's fishing.
And then we took off up the river just for a look, suss out a few different spots to swim, and then packed it up and went to Bemm. And
now, I'm told that it wasn't that pleasant down at Bemm.
No, it wasn't pleasant at all when we got there. It was blowing about 45k winds. It was about 2 foot of swell, and it was just a mud bath.
Yuck. So what did you guys do? Did you get out in the middle of it, or did you give it a miss?
No, we sent it over. We'd never been there, so we had to give something a go.
Yeah.
So took off over to Mahogany's and just drifted the bank. Didn't catch anything. Couldn't really stay connected with the lures. Made it a bit tougher. So we just packed it up and called it a day.
Fair enough. I'm going to say I think a lot of people struggled just to fish in general on the pre-fish day.
Yeah, that was the story, getting around everyone.
Yeah. All right. Let's roll into comp day. Now, you went off to Marlo, and tell me who you drew, and you end up with just the 1 fish. So tell us a bit about how that all happened.
I drew Stephen Pryke. We started off in number 1.
Nice.
which was good. And then we headed up river, fishing a rock wall. And they picked up maybe 6 or 7 fish off the rock wall. I did still not get a bite at all.
Ouch. So you'd be starting to get nervous about it, the whole thing?
Not really nervous, just can't stop casting. You just got to keep trying. You never know when it's going to happen.
Exactly.
And then we waited for the tide to run in a bit more, because then we went down to a spot called Frenchies.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so Prikey had to get out and push the boat across some of the sandbars there.
Right. Nice.
To get in there. I stayed in there for a couple of hours fishing, picking up estuary perch and flathead and all the bycatch and no bream.
Ouch.
And then headed back up the river again and just fishing the single poles that were just off the bank.
Okay.
And in between, getting tied up against that pole, we're still getting salmon. Prikey dropped another 3 good fish off them. And I pitched the baby prawn in the gulp, in the camo.
Okay.
Against the pole, and as soon as it hit the water, it just felt the tick, and then just set the hook and drag him home.
Right, and that was obviously a 1.25, so you would have been pretty excited at that point.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked because that was the biggest fish I caught down there so far.
Yeah, very good. And then I take it from based on the scoreboard, that was pretty much it for the day in terms of bream.
That was it for me. I didn't get another bite.
Ouch. But still, your 1.25, where did that have you overnight? Like, you still would have been a little bit up there.
That had me sitting in 4th.
Yeah, wow.
So that was pretty good. It just showed how hard it was, even for the boaters as well.
Yeah.
How many people actually got a donut.
That's right. No, it was clearly a tough day. But in 4th place, you're definitely still in it.
You're still in it, but you never know with Victoria. You just can be in 1st and then lose it all in 3 fish.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. All right. So then you moved on to BEM River. Who did you draw in BEM?
Steve Morgan, I got.
Right.
For day 2.
So Steve Morgan, very good.
Definitely a good pairing to have.
Definitely. And obviously, like we'll get into it, but you got your limit. So it was a good, it turned out to be pretty good.
It was a struggle to get my limit, but a lot of people that I fish with know that I always take my time with getting the fish.
Yep.
That was a good. Once I got that 3rd fish, I felt like a bit of weight off my shoulders.
Absolutely. And tell me, what did you do to get them? What you throw and how did they come?
So I started off throwing just the trusty Z-Man grub in motor oil.
Yeah.
On a 1/20th. Picked up a couple of smaller fish early.
Yeah.
Switched over to a slippery dog, which then got demolished by a massive tailor.
Yeah, nice.
And then we started, Morgan was catching on the hybrid shrimp, so I thought I'd tie one of them on and just fan cast the shrimp out and just slowly working that back, and got to upgrade 2 of my fish.
Right.
Just doing that.
Yeah, so you would have had the advantage of seeing Steve up the front of the boat, targeting them, and then obviously you weren't able to use the live scope or the mega live that he was running, but you just basically spread your cast out. Is that fair?
Yeah. So I could still see the Garmin live scope.
Mm-hmm.
So I could sort of get a gist on whereabouts to cast.
Okay. So you did get some benefit out of that.
Yeah, so you can still see it. It's like a 16-inch screen from the back of the boat. You can still see them.
Yeah. What was your technique with the hybrid shrimp?
So it's just a slow hop for not letting it sink all the way to the bottom, but about 600 mil deep you'd let it sink.
Yeah.
And just slowly work it back. And once you feel that little tick, just just lean back into it.
Yeah. And you said that you upgraded twice?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That was up to a 34 fork and a 32 fork, I think it was.
Yeah. So decent upgrades. I'm looking at the scoreboards. Those upgrades would have taken you from, I would say, probably 8th up into 3rd.
Yeah, well, I kicked out a couple of little 29 tippers, so no, it was a good upgrade.
Absolutely. And in the hybrid shrimp, do you know what color you were running?
Not the tiger. It was just the green one.
Yeah, okay.
Whatever. I don't know which color that actually is.
I'd have to look it up too.
But I've got a couple of them now in my box. So
very good. And did you go full Steve Morgan and throw it on 2 or 3 pound?
I was throwing it on 6 pound J braid and 6 pound X-Link.
X-Link leader. Okay, so basically a 6 pound combo. But obviously they were happy enough with that. So.
It was still a struggle to get the bites, but I found that the bigger fish aren't going to really be too wary of it being 6.
Very good. All right. Well, like we said, that was enough to bring back 1.9. One thing before we move off the fishing, is there anything you learnt while you were fishing with Morgo?
I've fished with Morgo before.
Yep.
It's good to get back. I've definitely got to get into lighter line.
Yeah.
But that'd be one of my goals next year.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. He's a master at it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like we said, you got the 1.905, which is enough to put you up into 3rd place for the non-boaters. What did you get to take home?
So got a heap of gear from Daiwa. What else was there? There was atomic rod. There was
nice
heaps of hard bodies and plastics, heaps of jig heads. So that was good. Restock for next year.
Very good. Hey, that is awesome. All right, mate. Well, look, last thing before we shoot off, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
I just would like to say thank you to Nicole and Steve for running the comps, because without that, we wouldn't be here talking about it.
Exactly. Absolutely fantastic. All right, mate. Thanks for coming on the show. Congratulations on 3rd place. And yeah, hopefully we get to have another chat into next year.
Yeah, hopefully next year I can hold on to a couple more spots next year.
100%. 100%. We'll see you up in the top spot.
Hopefully. That's the plan.
All right. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it.
No, all good, mate.
Okay, so first up in the boating division, I have an angler dropping 4 fish at Marlo for 4.090. Backed it up at Bemm River with 5 fish bag for 3.595. And then back to Marlo with a 5 fish bag of 4.685, giving him a total of 12.37 kilos. And 3rd place, I have Mario Vukic. Welcome back to the show, mate.
G'day, Andrew. How you going?
Mate, I'm good. And look, congratulations for coming 3rd in the grand final. How good's that?
Yeah, no, very good. Very happy. Very happy.
Definitely. And I mean, I don't know how many times we've spoken, but it's been quite a number now.
I hope I keep speaking to you, Andrew. It's good luck.
Yeah, it must be, mate. It must be. All right. And look, one of the things I do know, I don't know how familiar you are with Bemm, but I think we've done 1 or 2 podcasts on Marlo with you. And I think it feels like you go up there sometimes for a bit of a holiday too.
Yeah, look, we went up there like grand final week or AFL grand final weekend and stuff like that. But we stayed at a nice house there, and actually that we can bring the dog, and my wife actually loves going there, loves Marlo. So it's a nice little family thing, and my 2 boys also come, and yeah, look, I really enjoy Marlo.
Absolute win. Very good. All right. Well, mate, let's dive into pre-fishing and preparations. Tell us what you did to get ready for this one.
So I did go up there sort of grand final weekend and had a bit of a poke around, which was 3 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks beforehand, and Marlo fished really well, and I thought, oh yeah, this could be good. And I fished one day at Bemm and really struggled. So
Right.
I thought, yeah, I found a lot of fish up in the river, but you know when black brim go up the rivers to spawn, they're really, really hard to catch. And I couldn't catch them. And I caught probably 10 fish in the lake, but the biggest was about 30 fork, if that. So they were small fish, very small fish.
Not what you want.
No. So I did that. And because it's a 2-venue comp, you probably, because there's 2 days at Marlo and 1 at Bemm, I did the pre-fish solely at Marlo. I didn't bother going to Bemm. I just thought it's a lot smaller. I was committed to the lake, and I was just going to go there and sound the first spot. And if I saw fish, I'd fish it. And if I didn't, I'd just keep sounding until I found something.
Right. So then leading into the comp day, what sort of lures were you thinking? What was your technique going to be before you started?
Look, soft plastics, I was committed to fishing soft plastic because they've always worked for me at Marlo and Bemm. And I just thought that I would just continue doing what I know works and what I'm confident in, really. It's funny, when you do ABTs and you get a non-boater on board, they always ask you, what are you going to throw? What colour? What should I do? And I always say the same thing to them. I said, well, what do you like throwing? What are you good at throwing? And if they say, look, I'm good at blading or vibing and I'm throwing plastics, I say, well, do that then. They said, but you're doing plastics. I said, mate, whatever you're good at and what you're confident is, it sends down the line. Don't try and do something that's not familiar to you just because I'm doing it. Start with what's good, what makes you special, not what makes me special, what makes you special.
Exactly. I mean, it probably comes down to what sort of structure and what sort of location you're fishing, and then do whatever it is that you want to do, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. But no, I'm a big believer in sticking to what you're good at and the basics, and you'll hear coming up exactly what I did.
Okay. All right. Well, mate, I'm chomping at the bit, mate. So let's get into day one. You start off at Marlo.
Yep.
How did it start for you?
Well, firstly, the pre-fish I never caught a fish in pre-fish. But I had a non-boater, not a non-boater, a guy that was an observer on with me, and he's not an observer, sorry, a non-boater, John Parkinson, and he caught a big one, like a 1.2 or 1.3.
Wow.
And that was in a place called the Slips where Steve Morgan fished.
That's right.
So day one, I thought, righto, I'm going to go into the Slips first up. And I thought that I'd not have it to myself, but there'd be one or two. And if we backtrack until back to the grand final weekend, me and my son Mikey went in there, and Mikey caught a 1.79 in there.
Oh.
So I thought, look, I'll go in there and just have a bit of a play for an hour. If I can jag a big one, it's job done.
Yep.
So anyway, it's pretty close to the start line, and it's a random draw, and I was off pretty early, like 10 or 12 or something like that out of 30, and already 4 boats went in there. And it's only a small place, the Slips.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went in there and I thought, I don't know about this. But anyway, I stuck it out. And after an hour, I had nothing. One perch, didn't even have a brim bite.
Okay.
And Steve was in there and a few others were guys. And I said, no, I'm out. I was first beaten. I'm getting out of here. Left the other 4 in there. Now, if my memory serves me correctly, it was quite a windy day. It got windy that day. So I thought, righto, I'm going to fish up the front. So from the main wharf down to the mouth area. And I was surprised that, there might have been one boat that was there and they left within 15 minutes. So I had the whole area to myself.
Okay.
And so I went down there and it was just before the wind came, and there's a little corner down there where it's sort of a bit out of the tide because the tide was pumping as well. And I threw soft plastic and clunked a nice fish, like kilo plus fish.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
A good start.
Great start. And this is at about 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Okay.
And so I went back and I thought, I'll do the drift again. I sort of played around in that little corner for a little while and I didn't get anything at all. And so I thought, I'll go back 50 metres, and then the wind really picked up. And I'm talking proper wind.
Okay.
And I thought, I can't keep throwing the plastic. I just can't present it well enough. There was a big bow on my line. It was only like 6 foot of water. I don't really like throwing like 1/8 or something heavy in shallow water like that. So, believe it or not, I went for the VX40 in black eco gear, an old favourite.
Oh, yeah, old school.
Yeah. So the first fish, the plastic I used was just a bloodworm wriggler, and I got the nice one on the blood wriggler, and then I went to VX, and I caught about an 800 grammer on that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that was about 50 metres before this corner that I was fishing. So I went back and did it again and again and again and nothing. And then I sort of overdrifted, like up a lot shallower, and clunk. I got another one. It was a good one, like about a 1.2, I think it was.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm on 3 fish at about 11 o'clock. So I'm fairly happy. And the good thing is you can sort of, if everybody participates, there's a live scorecard. So when you're traveling and you're, going from spot to spot, you have a little sneak how everyone's going. And I could see 3 fish wasn't too bad. Like it had me in the top half of the field. In fact, probably in the top 10.
Yep.
So I thought, I've just got to knuckle down and just get these 2 fish, because the fish that were biting were quality fish.
Yeah.
Your 800s, 900 kilo plus fish. And a lot of places had a lot of fish on the sounder, but the little ones didn't bite. It was every now and then just a big one clunked it.
Wow. And what sort of leader were you running for the start of this comp?
So 4 pound.
4 pound. Okay.
Just 4 pound. Yeah, I had 4 pound in all of it. The water wasn't like crystal clear. And given the quality of the fish, I thought I normally start with 4 pound. I have a rod with a bit less than that as well, or a couple of rods, but I started with 4 pound. I don't really like going anything under 4 pound to blade with anyway.
Sure.
I don't think it's necessary. But anyway, so I'm on 3 fish and my place has gone sour. Like it's barren, quiet, can't see anything on the live scope, all that sort of stuff. They've moved. I'm out of there. So I thought, where am I? I went up to a place called the Junction, and there was people everywhere there. And most of them were sort of New South Wales guys that I didn't really recognise. But I do like fishing that area every now and then. And I sounded around, and again, there was just fish everywhere on the sounder, but none of them had caught a fish. And anyway, so I thought, oh, yeah. So I went a little, like they're all in 19, 20, 17 foot. I went, there was the right at the mouth of the Brodrip. It sort of goes from 19 foot up to 12. And I thought, I'll just fish up here. And like within 10 minutes, I clunked a fish in front of everyone. And I think it was, is it Rob Allington? Is it Rob Allington? Yeah, he was fishing next to me with the guy that I know as his non-boater. And he came over and he said, mate, I've been fishing here for 4.5 hours, haven't had a bite. You've been here for 10 minutes and clunked a kilo fish.
Yeah.
I said, mate, there's no secret. Here it is. Bloodworm wriggler.
Yep.
That's all it is. Just a bloodworm wriggler with a 1/12. Anyway, I flogged away for another hour and got nothing. So I'm sort of at 12:30, almost 1 o'clock, and I'm on 4 fish. So I went back down, just upstream of the wharf there. There's a fishing club there, if you know it, Andrew.
Yeah.
It's okay, just in front of the fishing club. And there was heaps of salmon and perch in there, and I was sort of trying to pick through it. And I think, Cromo was there and some others, but we were sort of in sort of different areas. And I got that clunk on the plastic, and I thought, beautiful. This is the bream I need. And halfway up, it shook off, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And then I never got another bream touch again.
Ouch.
I had perch, and anyway, it was 4 fish for 4.09. And you know what? That was in 4th spot, and I'll take. I said I'll take that.
Still in there.
Yep.
Still in there. And so you got 200 wriggler, 2 on blades?
Yep. 200 wriggler, 2 on blades.
Yeah.
So I'm using bloodworm wriggler and VX40. So I'm not reinventing the wheel here. A couple of very popular old school lures.
Absolutely. All right. So then day 2, you're going to head off to BEM. How are you at BEM? How confident are you?
No, I'm shitting myself.
Nice.
Honestly, I really am. Because it was difficult 2 weeks ago, I just want to at least get 3 kilos, and anything more than that is a bonus, because I thought it was going to fish difficult. Now, I did speak to someone that went there in the pre-fish and said that in the lake, they sounded a lot of fish. Now, 2 weeks ago, I couldn't sound any. They were all up the river. Well, not all, but the majority.
Yeah.
So when I went there, I was really nervous, like really nervous.
Yeah. Well, you're a chance too. Like you're in a good position. You're definitely a chance.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought it was going to be hard for everyone. So that's okay. But so anyway, I went to near the mouth of the river, but you know how the mouth of the river is quite shallow and then it drops down on either side. It drops down on the side to go out through the channel and it drops down the side of Bob's Bay there on the other side.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So I went to the right-hand side and the wind was sort of blowing towards the channel or Swan Lake or Mud Lake, sort of, if you can picture that. I know you fish there quite often.
Yeah.
You know where I am, don't you?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm about 50 to 100 metres from the mouth of the river in that sort of area. And I put the live scope down and I saw fish there and I thought, okay. And I planned to fish, change it up a bit. Instead, I went a bit fancy. I threw Z-Man grubbing motor oil.
Look out. You went out of control.
I went out of control with that one, yeah. So I threw Z-Man 2.5-inch grub motor oil and it wasn't really working for the first sort of 20 minutes.
Okay.
So I knew the fish were a bit smaller in Bemm and it was pretty calm. So instead of using the VX40 in black, I used the VX35, the little one.
In black.
In black.
Yep. Very good.
And I clunked like a 28 forker and I thought, nice. I'm off the donut. I'm happy. I've worked something out.
Yep.
Anyway, about half an hour later, I'm still on the one. I thought, oh, gee. All right, time to pick up the Z-Man grub motor oil again. And again, same sort of situation. I sort of drifted off the area that I was fishing into a bit deeper and a bit closer to, out a bit from the drop off there of the mouth.
Mm.
And I just threw out and clunk, something hit me. It was a nice fish. It was like a 32 forker.
Yeah, okay.
I thought, okay, if I can get 5 of them, I'll be happy.
Yeah, that's 2. It's going all right.
Yeah, that's 2. And then anyway, I did the drift again and then clunk, a 36 forker.
Nice.
I couldn't believe it. I thought, I haven't seen one of these in bloody Bemm for a long time.
Yep. So you got a kilo under your belt?
I got a kilo under the belt. And then I sort of stuffed around in that area for, it must have been another half an hour to 45 minutes and I couldn't get nothing. No, actually, I got a couple of small undersized fish. So thought, nah, I'm out of here. And so I went and I fished a place, I think they call it Siberia.
Oh, yes.
Up the back there.
Yep. Turn right off the boat ramp, sort of.
Yeah, but before, there's sort of like some shallow water with a yellow marker. I fished before that because when I looked after it in that real back bay, there was about 5 or 6 boats in there already.
Yeah.
One being Steve Morgan, Peter Brukel, Scotty Sekula, and I think even Declan might have been in. Anyway, there was quite a few luminaries in there already, and I thought, I'm going to stay out here. And I clunked my last 2 fish, but they were sort of about 30 forkers, nothing major. But hey, I got 5.
100% and 1 kicker.
And 1 kicker. And 32's a good one too. There.
That's right.
Yeah, I was happy with the 32. Anyway, I'd spoken to Mark Hazy, before going there, and he sort of holidayed there over grand final weekend. He said, go around the back of Siberia in the shallows in front of, where the Hobies launch their boats from and all that, all around there, just somewhere around there, and throw a bent minnow because there was a bit of wind started coming up. Anyway, I'm not really good at that. And I wasted about half an hour doing that and didn't do nothing. Anyway, so I came out a bit deeper and I was still shallower than all the other guys that were fishing that area, and I clunked a couple of 32 forkers, which I was pretty happy about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I had about 30 minutes to go and I've got probably 3 32s, a 30 and a 36 or something like that. They weren't in great nick, by the way. I think a lot of these fish had spawned.
Hmm.
And so right at the end of, in between the boat ramp and the mouth of the river, before the shallow water starts, just out of the weed, sort of as you're drifting towards Bob's Bay, I just thought, well, I can spend 40 minutes here and try and, no one was fishing there. Like I didn't really see anyone there, and I clunked another like 32, 33 forker. So I was really happy.
Yeah.
With 3.59, I was wrapped. Now, there was a few bigger bags, but I was still in contention. I actually moved up to 3rd.
Yeah, right.
after Bemm. Yeah.
Yeah, no. That was definitely a decent bag. A couple of things with your plastics and your blades. What was your intention with, say, we talk about the grubs, were your intention to just put them on the bottom and walk them along, or what were you thinking?
No. What I was doing was just throwing them out with the wind and just sort of jiggling them up, 6 inches off the ground, letting it drop, jiggling it up all the way back to the boat, just jiggling it up. As soon as it hits the ground, jiggling it again. Or rod tip up, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
Not rod tip down and sort of grubbing it along the ground. I wanted it to sort of flow up and down all the way back to the boat.
Okay. And was there any pattern on where they took it? Like close to the boat, end of the cast, or no?
No, most of them was on the first, second, third lift or drop. In fact, the 36 forker, I casted it out, and before it hit the bottom, it went clunk.
You're on.
I thought, oh, that's nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it was further away from the boat. The Bemm doesn't normally get 30 sort of bass boats on it, so that time, I thought that they might be a bit flighty, so long cast, single 1/16 jig head and Z-Man grubbing motor oil. I caught 3 fish or 3 in my bag on that, and 2 of them on the little VX35 in black.
VX35. Well, there you go. So do you have Dallas on day 2?
I had Dallas, yep.
Yep. So
And
last
Dallas
year's winner.
was struggling a bit. Yeah, I gave him a VX35 because he wasn't doing any good, and I said, "Yeah, put one of these on," and he actually got a fish on it, which I was happy. And he got a couple got off. He had a bit of bad luck, but at least he got something.
Yeah, 100%. Fair enough. All right, mate. So then a whole season, everything comes down to one day, and you're in 3rd place.
Yep.
And looking okay.
I'm looking okay. I'm confident. I'm about 700 grams off the leader, but
Close enough.
the best place to be with 700 is Marlo, because that 1.79 that Mikey clunked changes everything.
100%. Definitely doable on a system like that. All right. You got your 5 fish. Tell us how that day was. Tell us how day 3 was.
Well, day 3 didn't go to plan at all.
Oh, no.
So I didn't even bother going into the slips. I went up to my little corner at the front there before the shallow water sort of like turns into French's, but still part of the estuary there. And I noticed on the live there wasn't as many fish there was 2 days ago. But anyway, I fished it, and I did catch like a 550 gram yellowfin bream there, skinny yellowfin, 31 or fork or something like that. And that was early. And I thought, all right, well, I'm better off than the first day I was there, because I never got a fish until about 8:30, 8:45. So I'm better off.
Good start anyway.
Good start. Anyway, I've gone and I've done it, 4 or 5 times, caught nothing, done a few sort of areas, caught nothing, swapped sides, caught nothing. And about 9 o'clock, I thought, well, looks like I'm up to the junction.
Okay.
At the mouth of the Broddy to see how things are going there.
Yep.
So I went up there, and the same 5 guys were whacking away in the deep, catching nothing.
Yep.
I thought, all right, well, if I can jag, hopefully they turn on here. And I think Crikey was there, and he might have caught 1 or 2 there, but I got the bloodworm wriggler out, and nothing.
Nothing. Ouch.
Nothing. And I sniffed around, and then I fished around some of the islands, and it was about 11:30, 11:45, and I'm carrying around this skinny yellowfin, 550 grams. I'm looking at the live scoreboard, and Steve Morgan's only got a couple.
Yep.
And it didn't really look like the guys that were in contention were getting them. A few guys that weren't in contention was getting them.
That's right.
Like, Tom Deere was having a day out. I went past him, and he was, netting about a 1.2, and a few other guys were having day outs. But
yeah, Scott Cicluna jumped up.
Yeah, I think Crikey might have been going okay, but he always goes okay. He's very consistent, Crikey. Very rarely does he not come home with 5 fish. So I think he had 5 and had jumped up, quite a few places. But the rest of us weren't going all that great. So I came back down and I said, right, I'm going to fish the same places that I invested in on day one and that I know that works, and I just hope things have changed. Different tide, different wind, things changing. So I went into my little corner again, nothing. So I thought, oh, well, this might be a tough one today. And I thought, I'm going to go over the other side. So, Marlo, the beach side, there's a big sand dune opposite the wharf there. There's a big sand dune that you go over and then you're into the surf. I just started there and I got my blood wriggler out, but I put a 12th on because it was a bit more windy and a bit more tide and it was pumping. I said, I'm just going to drift up and down here for another hour and fish for luck, basically.
Yep.
And about 25 metres ahead, clunk, kilo fish.
Right. Okay. Back in it.
So I thought, right, I've got a plan. I'm back in the ball game, hopefully. So I went and did the whole drift and only got the one. And I went back and I did it again. And near the end, right at the end, not right at the mouth, but up closer to the mouth, I clunked another fish.
Right.
And it was like close to a kilo, I reckon. It was like a 35 forker, maybe a 900. So then I thought, I might just sort of concentrate on that sort of a smaller drift near the end and just sort of invest in that sort of area for the next sort of half an hour. And I went up and down there and I clunked another one.
Right.
Again, like 900. So at this stage, I've got 4 fish, 1 little skinny yellowfin and 3,
Yeah.
3 other good fish.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we get to about 1 o'clock and about another hour. But things were happening. When you can sort of feel it, Andrew, things were happening in that area. And like I started catching perch all of a sudden. And I hadn't caught a perch, but nice perch.
Yeah. Right.
And like I could just feel things were happening in that area. And I was out of the salmon. There was no salmon around. I thought I can present my soft plastic. And so I went a little bit lighter in a 16th because I was picking up a bit of weed. And then I went clunk again. I thought, you beauty. And then I said, I've got to get rid of this 550. I had 5, but I've got to get rid of this 550. And I've caught another couple of sort of similar fish. And then with about 20 minutes to go, I had a sort of a purple patch, but I lost 2 of them, like kilo fish, halfway up or at the boat. Or it was a disaster. I was a nervous wreck.
You're right.
I had Harry young kid from Marlo as my observer, and I've got to say, it was exciting. It was really exciting. It's why you do it. The excitement of losing fish and grinding away to try and get that last fish. And anyway, I did. I hooked a nice kilo fish, got it in, and yeah, I got close to 4.8 kilos or 4.7 kilos.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You 4.685. So a very decent bag, and you'd have to be happy with that.
Oh, I was wrapped. But every time I thought I'd be going good and I'd got my nose in front of Morgo or Cromo, I forgot how good they were. And then I'd look at the scorecard and Morgo's got a 1.5 and I'm going,
That's right.
oh. And then Cromo's got a couple of kilo fish. And every time I thought I'm winning here, I'm gaining, they're too good. They're bloody good fishermen.
They said, yeah, just see what happens here. So
No,
all
that's
right.
it.
Mate, that's very, very cool. Let's run back over a couple of things. So you fished that sand spit or the mangrove edge, not mangrove edge, sorry, sand edge. What was your plan there? Were you casting like right into the shallows and bringing it back out of no water, sort of?
Yep, I was casting it right up into the shallows, and it on the right-hand side, that side, it actually drops off a lot steeper than the other side.
Okay.
So the other side, I was fishing like 4 to 6 foot. This was dropping down into 15 foot.
Okay.
So I was casting it hard up, basically onto the sand, and just bringing it back.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yep. And I just went up and down there for 2 hours, a bit over 2 hours, and I ended up getting all my 5 fish just doing that. I did change at one stage when it got tough, and I went from like 4 pound on a 12th to 2 pound leader on a 16th.
Yeah, okay.
And it worked.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool. That's very cool. I mean, one of the questions that went through my head, okay, we know the bloodworm wriggler is it's a staple or it's old school, but still very good. But why not a wave minnow or a hurricane sprat 85? Why do you stay with the bloodworm wriggler?
The colour. Now, I fished on the weekend at comp in the Hopkins, and we fished a lot of wave minnows and stuff like that. But for some reason, that sort of colour worked well. And you want me to be really honest with you? 2 weeks ago, when I went there, I put the bloodworm wriggler on and caught fish on it. So I thought, I know that works. I'm just going to use that.
Yeah, okay.
And I know a lot of the non-boaters laugh at me when we fish some of the qualifiers because sometimes I've got one rod on the deck or two rods.
Yeah,
and
right.
like you see Cromo and Hickson and all them, and Pete Brukel, they've got about 12 rods on the deck.
Yeah.
I've got two.
Yeah.
Because I just invest in what I know works and I try and just do it well.
Yeah.
And certain time on the water teaches you certain systems respond to certain lures and certain colours. And I just play the percentages, Andrew. I know that the blood wriggler works pretty well there. It's 100 mil. I was using the big one.
Mm.
There's big fish there. I didn't use it in BAM. Never threw it.
Yeah, right. Interesting.
Mm.
And on the day, I think on the last day, there was only a little bit of wind. It wasn't too bad. How were you first seeing the strikes and seeing the hits?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, okay.
Fantastic. The only thing is there was a bit of tide, so they weren't absolutely annihilating the lure where, sometimes when you get the tick that vibrates up your arm, you can't miss it. But it was a subtle tick, but it was a tick nonetheless. And when you fish black brim all your life, it's actually not a tick. So when you get a perch hit it, it sort of ticks it. But when a brim hits it, it plucks it. It's totally different the way they suck it in compared. And their jaws are a lot stronger than a perch or something. So you actually, time on the water, you start to know. And I'm sure with yellowfin and stuff, when you hook up, that's 8 times out of 10, that's a yellowfin.
You know what it is.
That's a brim. Yeah, you know what it is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of those things, sometimes you can't explain it. You go, that's it, or you go, you feel a bite and you go, oh, it's a flathead. It's just, however, it's just the way they do it. So.
Yep, that's right.
So, yeah. Well, there you go, mate. All right. Well, that's very, very cool. It was enough to bring you back in with a great bag on last day, put you up in third place. Mate, what do you get to take home in this one for third place?
You usually just get a badge.
Yeah.
But Morgo, because he come second, there was a pair of Maui Jims and a Daiwa, top of the range rod, and he basically said, you take that for Mikey.
Wow.
From the son. So unbelievably great gesture.
Very generous.
He used it the whole weekend at the Hopkins, glasses and rod, which I took a photo and sent to Morgo and said, there you go.
Yeah, how good's that? And a solid investment in the sports future.
That's it.
So, yeah, very good. All right, mate. This is the last one for the year in the ABT, mate. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Yeah, definitely the ABT, Steve Morgan and Nicole, and more so Nicole. What a terrific job she's done over the last few years. She's made ABT go from strength to strength. I mean, my mum, old Italian lady, she says to me, why is Steve Morgan, he runs the place, why is he fishing? And I always say, Mum, you want to beat the best. You want the best there. He's at a disadvantage. He normally starts last. He comes in earlier than everybody else. But I'd rather him fish than not fish because you want to, what he puts into the sport with his live streams and stuff like that, I just love it. And Nicole, what she does in the background to allow him to do that has grown the sport so much. So those two, hats off. I want to say thank you to all the other competitors. I think we sort of, ABT it's on a different level with regards to the respect that most anglers pay each other. So you don't sort of get, those little niggles on the water as much. And, I've had a really good year, and I haven't had one cross thought or word against too many anglers for sure.
All right, mate. I'm glad to see you up there amongst on the podium. Mate, congratulations again. And yeah, hopefully I get to talk to you again soon.
Good on you, mate.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, so coming in second place, we have an angler dropping 4 fish on day 1 for 4.4 kilos. On day 2, he picked up 5 fish for 3.705 and came home with another 5 fish for 4.670, which gave him a total of 12.775 and second place in the 2025 grand final. I have Steve Morgan. Welcome back to the show, mate.
G'day, DT. It was good to do well, but it's also good to have the bream season finished so we can go and catch some barra for a couple of months.
Yeah, well, that's it. You've told me that you do like to catch your barra, and I do think that you should be Steve Barra Morgan.
I did get messages from my mates saying that good to see a barra guy doing good in the bream tournaments, they said.
How good is that? Well, mate, you and I have got a fair bit to have a talk about. So before we get into this round for the grand final, I actually want to backtrack a little bit and just tell us your kind of takeaways from the first time running the Victorian Open.
Yeah, it was Nicole Smith invented that idea. We had Shimano coming and wanting to do some stuff with us in the bream space, and they're very respectful. They don't want to tread on Daiwa's toes, but they want to play in the space, and Nicole invented that event for them. And we have a saying at ABT, if we get 20 boats to any sort of event for the first time, we're geniuses, because it's hard to get new people involved. How cool was it that 38 boats decided that the $550 entry fee Vic Bream Open at the most difficult time of year on Gippsland Lakes was a good idea? So that was the audience voting and saying, yeah, we want this and we want more of this. So a combination of great support, good support from Shimano. They sent down Starlo and Josh Carpenter to do some live commentary.
Yeah.
Nicole put together a great live show each day for 2 or 3 hours. And how's this? Nicole talked about half a dozen Victorian anglers into taking air tags so we could run the live maps about where they were in the arena all the time. It's like, I was very sceptical that she was going to get some yeses, but I think everyone that we offered them to took them, and when they saw the finished result with the maps and where everyone was and people up the rivers and other people down, it was an awesome result. It was like Bassmaster style coverage for 100th of the budget. So I think from all of those views, it was a real success. And I think it was a great Cinderella story for Daniel Kent. I think it's his first tournament he's won in the bream space there. 7,000 wing wangs in the back pocket.
How good is that? No, it was a very, very good event. It was great to see Daniel get up on top there. Very, very good.
How good is that? Everyone will remember the 4 fish bag for 6.6 kilos.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Great.
No, it was very, very cool. And talking to him, the nerves about he obviously had a good bag, but still only having 4 in the well is tricky.
Oh, that's right. You think that 5th one is going to cost me. And that's a great segue to the grand final, because I look back at this grand final and go, you know what? A 36-centimetre fish on day 1 to make my 5th fish up, and it was going to be really interesting at the scales end. So you can always look back. But look, in context, I've never caught a limit at Marlo, and I'd probably fished there 3 days in my entire life before. Actually, probably 2 days.
Right.
Maybe the pre-fish for the grand final in 2018 that Jason Mayberry won.
Yeah.
And the one tournament day we spent there. And I'm pretty sure I spent that with Stewie Walker, and we caught 2 fish. I think it might have been a short. Anyway, I never even got close to a limit there. So to get 4 on the first day for 4.4 kilos was crazy. I loved it.
Yeah, well, there you go. There you go. All right. So let's go back into your pre-fish. Now, we had some pretty interesting weather for pre-fish day. Tell us how your day was.
Well, I have a saying that just because you had a good pre-fish doesn't mean you're going to have a good tournament, and vice versa. In fact, I've won several tournaments in the past catching only 1 or 2 fish in the pre-fish. So this was one of those situations. I pre-fished both venues, Bemm and Marlo, and I did not catch a bream all day.
Right.
I went to the Bemm at dawn. I got up at like 4 in the morning. I wanted to be there at first light because I knew I had to maximise my time. I have to finish my pre-fish by, say, 2 o'clock because I've got to go and set up briefings and do tents and stuff like that. So I was there early, and there was a convoy of 4 of us going into the Bemm, and we all got there, and it was shitting down so hard that we all were just sitting there with the lights on. And after 5 minutes, I said, I'm going to run to the boat, get my buck and bass suit. I'm going to run back in the car. I'm going to put it on. I opened the door and took 2 steps, and I got turned around by that rain. It was drenching. So I got back in the car, turned the heater on. It was 7 degrees, I think, at the time.
Wow.
Anyway, we finally got on the water, and even though Bemm is such an amazingly fishy venue, the entire lake was mud because it's really low at the moment, and that strong winds had just churned it all up to a mud. I went up the river. The river water was actually quite clear, but I think the fish had finished their spawn, or I was too itchy to go up far enough. As I went up about probably halfway and never even saw a fish.
Okay.
And I went down the mouth where there was also some clearish water, and there was so many salmon and tailor there. It was ridiculous. So I left there at about maybe – I spent too long at the Bemm. I spent until maybe 10 in the morning there. I thought I was just going to visually see where they are and leave. I did find them off the side of the flats in 1 or 2 spots, so I mentally noted that. Went back to Marlo and, of course, had the same sort of wind. Didn't have much time. I went to get into French's Narrows down at the eastern side, couldn't get in there because it was too low, the tide.
Yeah.
And then I ended up going to a little bay called the Slips opposite the start because it was out of the wind. And I saw a few bream in there on my scope. I sort of know what bream look like now as opposed to perch and salmon and mullet and everything else. And that was sort of it. I went back out the front of the Slips, had about 5 casts, put 5 giant salmon in a row, and that was my time. It was all over. So all of my plans of checking out Lake Coringal, going up to Snowy, they all weren't going to happen, and it was the Slips or nothing for me.
Wow. And just at the moment, which live sonar are you running at the moment on the front?
So I've got 2 on the front. I've got a Garmin, which I use in perspective mode, and I have a Humminbird Mega Live 2 that I use in forward mode. So in both of the Open and the Grand Final, the perspective was sort of more important than normal for bream. Like when I was at Malakuta, there were so many bream around, perspective didn't really matter because every direction you looked with your forward, you'd see fish, something to throw at. Whereas they seem to be a lot more patchy. Like in the Bemm, there were just like little groups of them here, little groups here and there, and perspective would really let you refine where those groups were, let you know where to point your forward so that you could fish them effectively. So I had both of those going the whole time, though. So it's taken me years to have 2 units running at once. It used to screw with my head. I used to never know which one to look at. What do I do with my hands? It's sort of it's one of those things where it was mentally too much for me. This is actually the 3rd time I've tried it, and I now know how to use it properly. So anyone who thinks they can just go and get 2 and put them on the front of their boat and it'll be easy for them, they can see the matrix because it took me a long time to get to know it. But for me, in the Open, it was mainly forward I would use to target the fish, but in the Grand Final, it was mainly, especially at Marlo, mainly the perspective mode. And I'm lucky that through all the barra fishing I've done, I'm pretty good at knowing where my lure lands in perspective mode. So I know if I have to cast at 2 o'clock, 60 feet out, I can do it without looking. And even if I can't see the lure land in ultra shallow water, I know I'm in the right place. And I think that's an advantage that I have over a lot of people trying it because I don't have to see it to know it's working. It's just you can do it as second nature. And that's 4 years of fishing for barra really hard and just, it's like a golfer, I suppose. You know how to hit at 60 feet. I know how to cast at 60 feet and land it wherever I need to go.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting mix. It wasn't the same. It was the same lure, same rod, same reel the whole time, but it was probably different electronics that I'd use per situation.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. I mean, the live streaming that you did was so good to watch. And for us, trying to see the lure and watch the fish turn on, it's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's harder to broadcast bream fishing than barra fishing because barra are like a railway sleeper going past and it's in deep water usually, so there's no background to occlude any of the things you can see. So it's a dark screen, maybe some bait fish, a big barra waddling past, and then a lure, you can just see it tracking in like a tracer bullet.
Yeah.
For bream, you're in shallow water usually, so the bottom confounds that. So you have to be able to set your transducer at an angle where you can see a little bit of the bottom, some of the fish, but not too much of the surface. And it's a real art form, I think, just to get that transducer set perfectly so that you can see all the things you need to see.
Yeah, it's interesting. And when do you actually change from one to the other? Like, is if you're in a metre of water, you're in perspective, and then over that you...
No, it can be any depth of water, but it's as soon as I know that if I can see the fish following the lure, for instance, and I don't know if that fish is 1 foot or, say at the BEM I was fishing about 4 to 5 foot of water a lot of the time. If I could see the fish on perspective and I didn't really know how deep it was, I could look at it and see if they were on the bottom, scuzzing on the bottom, or just under the surface. And if they're just under like a key fish for me on the third day at Marlo, I really thought that they were mullet. And I threw a thing, and I looked down at my forward motor, so I'm just going to see if I can hit this one on the head. And I dropped it on its head, and I went clunk, and it was a 1.5 kilo bream. Oh. And I was as surprised as anyone. I thought, that's a perch or a mullet or something. And then it came to the surface shaking its head, and I'm like, oh, God, that is not where a bream normally sits. But I'm glad I looked at the forward because it let me not let the lure drop under the fish. So a lot of the key of the live sonar, especially in forward mode, is you don't want... The fish will often not go down to eat it if it's coming up from under the bowl. Always want to come up to eat it. So just looking at it, that one glance probably converted the nothing into a 1.5 kilo bream. I probably screwed it 100 times, but I got it right that once.
You got it right. That one, it was probably important at the end of the day.
Yes, of course.
Very good. All right, let's roll into comp day. Yeah, tell us how the first day was.
I've actually drawn boat number 1 in a grand final before, and I thought, this is dodgy, me drawing myself out first. So I put myself back in and I came out last. So this time I got drawn out second, but because John Glover was drawing at the boat, I said, I'll run with that. I'll go as boat number 2.
Yeah.
But then I worked out day number 1 was at Marlo, and I knew exactly where I was. I didn't know what to do, so I knew exactly where I was going to go. I was going to go across to the slip. So I was boat number 1. I went in. If you're not familiar with Marlo, it's across from the ramp and up the river a little bit. There's a lagoon that's probably 3 or 4 footy fields long with a couple of creeks, little tiny creeks running into it. It's about 2 to 4 or 5 feet deep at the max, and it's pretty sheltered from the wind. There's some big sand dunes behind it, so it's quite sheltered. So I just went straight over to the slips, as well as about maybe 4 other boats. It was quite crowded in there early, and I started looking for fish and casting at them. And I knew the tackle I was going to use because I'd refined it at the open. I was always going to throw the hybrid shrimp for scoping because it was a slow sink rate. I was going to throw it on light fluorocarbon. In this case, it was 3-pound fluorocarbon because it's stealthy. And it was a Daiwa BREAM Series, so I'm going to use my EX, the 752 ultralight fast in-feet rod, and the TD black reel. So it's a combo I've been publicising and using for maybe at least the last year, maybe the last 2 years I've been using it. And it's just perfect for light line brimming, and it's really easy for me to pitch cast it and land it where I need to on the live scope. So the first 2 fish I caught, first 1 or 2 I think were perch. So early in the morning it seemed like the perch in the shallow water are active, and it's weird. Perch live on a sand flat in 2 foot of water like a whiting. Like,
yeah.
No one ever told me that. So I'm seeing these fish that look like bream, and I'm bringing the lure to them and dropping it, and they're going dunk like a bream, and then I wind them in like a wet paper bag, and it's a 35 centimetre perch. It's like, okay, that was a fluke. Caught another one that way. I go, this is going to be a problem today. But luckily they sort of taper off as the morning goes on. The third fish I caught was about a 32 or 33 centimetre bream. And I go, okay, cool. I know that some of the fish I thought they were bream, but now I know they're bream. I've got the confidence to stay here. And because I stayed there, everyone else who was in there was Mario in there. I think there was at least 2 other boats in there. Paul Langley, I think, was in there. They all, after about an hour, they all left and went somewhere else. And after they left was where I actually caught my first bream. But I stayed there essentially the whole day. And I caught 2 bream early, a couple of 33s. Late in the morning, probably at maybe 10 o'clock, I caught a 38 forker, and maybe half an hour later I caught another 38 forker. So I didn't make and I stayed there till the end of the session, and I didn't. And so I thought, yeah, okay, mid to late morning was good, but the afternoon was no good. So 4 fish for 4.4 kilos. I was sitting in maybe 3rd place after the first day.
Yeah.
I was stoked because Marlo had never been good to me before. I'd never even caught a kilo fish in there, and I caught 2 pre-spawn big fat 38s in the one day. And I was pretty happy. So, of course I would have wanted the 5th. And looking back on it, you can say, oh, yeah, a kilo fish that day would have been no worries, could have won the grand final. Don't worry, if I could catch it, I would have tried. I was trying.
You having a go. Yeah. I mean, so obviously, you're going back in 2 days' time.
Yeah.
Did you have any pattern in your head? Like, how did the day one fishing set you up for the last day?
Yeah, so I did try various lures on the first day. I tried a top water for a little bit. I tried a stick minnow for a little bit. I don't think I tried the Chris Wright flick bait until the last day. But all I knew is that all the positive reactions that I got, be it from perch or bream, were on that hybrid shrimp. They obviously ate shrimp in the area. Like there was not bait fish in there for them. There was big bait fish, but fish everywhere eat a prawn. So that was my confidence bait at the time. And after that first day, it's like, I'm going to be throwing this the whole time. And that's exactly what I did at the BEM as well. I did throw a token half a dozen casts with the top water just to say I did it. But once the fish started eating that prawn, it was hard to leave it. And one of the things I like about the hybrid shrimp is that it's got 2 trebles on it.
Mm.
The other thing I like, it's a hard body, so those trebles won't tangle ever. It won't bend. And if you get a nip on it, it usually doesn't foul the lure because the toe point's so far away from the trebles. And the third thing is that it sinks horizontally. And that's like an Eco Gear Aqua for me. Like prawns in real life don't swim head first at the bottom. For me, they if you look at a prawn in a tank, it just sort of waddles along with the little pleopods underneath, kicking along. And then when something spooks it, it sort of it jumps away. So that retrieve of a slow roll with a little kick, and then let it sink horizontally, it's supernatural for me.
Yeah.
But in theory, that bait has always ticked the boxes. It took me a year or two to get onto them to actually, to try them and then to do them well. But this year it's been a real big fish lure for me. Like on the Hawkesbury, did real well. I remember Timmy Vickers threw it in Sydney Harbour and came third in the Open, mainly using that hybrid shrimp. And, of course, at Malakuta, that was the eye-opener for me, the fact that, sure, I could catch fish on stick minnows, but I was catching twice as many fish on hybrid shrimps. And how dare a lure catch twice as many fish as a stick minnow?
Yeah, well, there you go.
That's the standard by which we judge, isn't it? So, and that was it at the first day. I thought I'd estimated those fish were 4.2. They were pre-spawn. They came in at 4.4. So I knew I was in a good area. I was never going to leave that area because why would you leave fish to find fish? And remember, I'm only catching a very small percentage of what I can see. So all I've got to do is if I got 20% better at catching, I'd catch a limit, wouldn't I? That's the maths.
That's it.
For day 3.
That's it. That is exactly right. All right. You're in, what'd you say, 3rd place on day 1?
3rd place after day 1 to the BEM River we go, yes.
Yep. You pack everything up and off you toddle, off to BEM River.
About a 40-minute drive it is from Marlo to BEM along the coast road there. And luckily we got to BEM on day 2 and it was a glamour day. So not a bit of wind in the morning, a little bit of fog around as you're driving in. And I'm just secretly thinking, thank God it is not a whirlwind like it was on the practice day, because I've probably spent 6 or 8 days fishing the BEM in my life, and I'm a lot more familiar with the BEM than I am Marlo. So the BEM was all about, you know what, I reckon I know where the fish are. And where they were was, if you've been to BEM when it's full, there's some great sandbanks just out the front of the park where we have the weigh-in, right? So bounded by all of those nav markers, it's a weed-free, sandy bottom. If it's full the lake, you can go in there and throw a dunk or a deep diving crankbait, just bounce it on the bottom, and every second cast catch a 28 to 32 centimetre bream. It's the world's easiest bream fishing. But when the lake's low, that all comes out of play. So you can get up on there. There was probably 1.5 foot maybe of water on top of it, but the bream definitely were not up on top of it. You could see with your eyes that they weren't there, and it was too skinny for them to feel comfortable in. When I was live sonaring, I saw them, I don't know what it's called, but when you go all the way around that flat, it's nearly on the other side of the lake from where the park is. We do the weigh-in. There's a sort of a channel which goes up, and all of the bream had fallen off that flat, and they were sitting sort of in the mouth of that big shallow creeky area, but off the edge of the flat. And if you got right into the middle of the channel, there was basically none. They were all sitting on this sort of 50-metre wide strip along the edge. You go up onto the flat, you'd see weed and no fish. You go wide, you see a few tailor, few salmon, no bream. So luckily, at my helm, I've got a Lowrance, a 12-inch Pro, and that comes with inbuilt Insight Genesis mapping, which is the old social map. So it's the stuff that people have mapped personally and then shared it with Lowrance, and they've made these social maps. So you go to a little place like the BEM that hasn't been surveyed or properly mapped, I still get a really good idea of how it looks. So I could see, as I was heading on and off the flat, I could see, man, all these fish are heading within 50 metres. I know all the other guys that have got Garmins and Hummingbirds haven't got this mapping, because I got a Hummingbird and I checked the Hummingbird mapping and it is perfect offshore, but Bemm is just a yellow dot.
Yeah.
So I know that I've got the mapping I'm going to work this strip along. There's about a kilometre long strip along the edge of this flat that I worked. And I reckon that my non-boater was Chris Hokin. He caught just under 2 kilos for his 3 fish, and he ended up coming in the top 5. And I reckon I caught 20 fish at third. There you go. So I reckon we easily caught sort of 20 fish for the morning. Like it was good. And I left there with 5 fish that were all in that 32, 33 centimetre size class. And as soon as I started catching 30s and 31s that didn't help, it's like, okay, I'm going to go and move now. And so I was in a good place. I had definitely 3.5, probably more by 9 in the morning. Right. And I think my live stream, people are telling me my live stream dropped out that day. For me, it looked like it was working the whole time. Okay. But I went down to the mouth. I said, I'm going to go and see if I can find some yellowfin. I went down there. I actually had a yellowfin come up on the bent minnow on my very first cast down there. And I thought, this is awesome. They're going to be packed along here. For the next kilometre, no yellowfin. Didn't even really see one. Saw a couple of blacks, but plagues of salmon, tailor, all that sort of stuff. And I ran into Chris Hickson, who had fished the whole thing, and he said, I haven't even got a fish yet. So I said, okay, I'll take that advice on board, Chris, because if you can't catch them, I definitely can't catch them. So I went back out into the lake, and I checked other areas of drop-offs where it would drop from the shallow to the deep, and I didn't see any real concentrations of fish. So after about an hour of mucking around doing that, I went back to the fish that we were on and straight away started catching more fish again. Trouble is they were all the sort of same size, that sort of 30 to 32 centimetre size. But I was happy again. I got a limit. I thought 3.2 kilos was going to be par. I got 3.7.
Yeah.
And I was super happy with that. That was only 300 grams less than the heaviest bag, which was Cromo, who got he got one of those kicker fish, one of those kilo fish was in his bag. So that's sort of the difference between if you can get, you know what it's like at the Bemm. If every keggy you catch puts you 20 places up a kayak fishing table, doesn't it?
That's right. That is exactly.
If you catch 3 and you're at the top, if you catch 2 of them, you're at 10th. And if you catch 1 of them, you're at 20th. And if you catch 3 normal ones, you're at 80th.
Yeah, that's about right, especially when there's 100 on there, 100 plus.
100 anglers, that's right. So again, pretty happy with it. And again, exactly the same outfit, exactly the same lure. Probably get into it a bit more on forward mode. It was deeper water. It was probably that 4 to 5 foot of water off that edge. So when I would see the groups, I would throw usually past them so I wouldn't spook them by landing on their head. I'd wind it into them and then slowly sink it in, and then I would look at the forward mode and I would see the fish. Often the bream would come up to the lure, and if it didn't want to eat it, it'd do a quick lap around. It'd do a circle around. Like it wouldn't go in front of the lure. It'd go like it's spooked, but it's like, I'm not spooked, I'm just going to come back and have another look at you. And I had some bream do 2 or 3 sort of half laps of the lure before they'd finally commit and they'd eat it. So, and when you watch the live stream, you can see that. You can say, he's coming, he had a go, he swerved it, dunk, and then he eats it. So it's, for me, that's as awesome as watching him slurping on a topwater on the flats. Yeah. I'm watching the fish react to my lure and I'm varying my retrieve to do it. And the cool thing with the live sonar, of course, is I can sight fish all day now instead of just when conditions let me do it in shallow water or clear water when it is. So, again, if you're a bit of a live sonar hater, come on my boat and I'll show it. I guarantee you will have fun doing it. It's awesome watching how poor a fisherman you are, how few of these fish you can convert.
Yeah, that's it. And look, hey, it's here to stay, so here's what it is.
Yep.
Very good. All right, mate. It comes into, I guess, final day. Mate, you're sitting right up there. Tell us how the day was, mate. It was definitely good watching, good viewing.
So it was actually, I had a pretty solid plan, to be honest. So I'm going to spend most of my time in the slips because, remember, I caught 2 38-centimetre fish there. And they were in that 1.3 to 1, but they were fatter because they were pre-spawn fish. They were huge. So I said, look, the fish are definitely in there to win it. But I had in mind that I hadn't caught any after about 11 o'clock on that first day. So I said, look, if I get to 10:30 and I haven't got a limit or I'm struggling a bit, I want to run down to French's Narrows and I want to try to go in there and catch some of the big yellowfin that I've seen in there before. So go in there, and I actually get my first fish pretty early. I catch more perch than the first day. I caught maybe 6 or 7 perch early, but amongst them was about a 32-centimetre bream. So I had one on the board early. I did a drift down. There's about a 100-metre drift down there that I got most of my fish on. I came up to do it a second time, and I think I got a second fish that was in that 32, 33-centimetre class. So I had probably 2 fish for 1.5 kilos. And then it sort of really slowed down. It stopped blowing. It got real calm. And I had a young fella on as an observer, and I said, you know what, we're just going to go for a burn down at French's Narrows, and I'm going to see if I can get in there. And if I get in there, I want to fish that for an hour and see if there's fish there. Went down. There's a little bit of 5 and 10 knots, but then you can go fast down to the mouth of French's Narrows. I got there, and it was like 10 centimetres of water going in there. There was like a 3-year-old kid on a bodyboard, wasn't even getting the knees wet walking across the channel. So I go, I've really screwed the tides up here. I fished the mouth a little bit. I spooked 1 or 2 fish, but it was pretty dead. I said, oh, well, that was a good exercise. Within 20 or 30 minutes, I was headed back.
Yeah.
Slips there. I fished a little bit outside the mouth of it. There was a lot of current in the river, and I found the current really difficult to manage when it came to putting a lure on a fish. I could see a few fish, but there was no way in that heavy current I could put them on their head. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to go back in there, and I'll live or die in the back of this lagoon. So I went back in, and as I went in, Declan Betts, he came in too. He came in and he said, he asked me what I was fishing, and I said, I'm just fishing the middle. So he said, I'm going to fish the edges. I said, that's cool. He went up and fished the edges in there. As soon as his boat got out of sight, or not out of sight of my live stream, like just as he was idling up, I hooked one that was a really shallow fish, and I really thought it was probably a perch or something else, but it ended up being a 38-centimetre bream.
Nice.
And this was still ultra calm. It was just, I think, that I'd rested the fish a little bit, and I think that at the first cast back into this one productive area, there was a ball of them and they came up. And so I was like, ooh, that just made things interesting, because we had the estimated scoreboard going, and I know Cromer had a few, but he didn't have any real big kickers, and this was like a 1.3 kilo fish.
Right.
So that's interesting. So I said, I'm definitely staying in here the rest of the time. So I took my time. I worked my all the way up to the shallow end of the lagoon, to the point where I could see the sand on the bottom was getting quite shallow. And in the last bit of little tiny channel running up onto the sandbank, I could see a few on live sonar, threw a cast out, and it was actually quite an aggressive retrieve. I remember fishing it to try and get their attention, dropping it down, and it was the best bite ever on live. Like it was thunk. It was a proper donk, and I go, oh, that feels like a perch. Like that feels like a mini barra just going poof and eating it.
Yeah.
I go, oh, it's probably a perch, and I leaned on it. It came to the top, shaking its head because it had the hybrid shrimp like hooked on each side of its mouth. You know, like they get on a cranker crab, they get one hook each side, and they don't fight. They just sit there shaking its head. He was doing it on the surface, and I go, oh, my God, that's a giant. And so I took my time with it. It didn't actually fight that much. I got in the boat, and that was a 39 forker. And that was proper big then. So now I had 4 fish for over 4 kilos in my estimation. So, and at the same time, you know, Cromer may have fudged his figures a little bit. We'll never know. At that time, we were pretty much going neck for neck. Although he did have a 200-gram fish on his estimator. I say, I know it's impossible to have a 200-gram fish. If it's just legal, it's a 500-gram fish.
Yeah.
In that joint. So I said, you know what, I'm going to move further up this lagoon than I have before, because it was so calm and nice. I could see the bottom. I actually saw a group of fish that I cast to on live sonar that I couldn't catch, and I moved past, and they were 5 giant bream. They just swam past the boat. I'm like, oh, there's my win right there.
Yeah.
I went over that sandbank, and I saw either 1 or 2 fish were digging and mudding.
Yeah.
So you could see the grey all come up, and I screwed the cast up. I landed it a bit too close to them, and the fish spooked out. And I go, oh, that's another giant there, just waddling past the boat as I spooked it out.
Oh.
So I devoted a little bit of time then to scanning some of these flats, but I looked at flats for another 100 metres and I couldn't see any more. So I said, you know what? My last hour I've got, I'm just going to spend it on the run where I've caught all the fish, and hopefully I can scratch one more out. And I did. At the top of the run, I got another. It was a 29 forker. It was fat, but it was only a 600 grammer. I thought, oh, to be honest, I need to get rid of that if I'm going to have a chance. But in the end, I didn't. At 1:45, packed up stumps, headed back there. The estimator said Cromo and I had the same weight, but obviously underestimated a little bit. But it was a tense weighing. It was exciting.
Exactly. No, it was very good viewing. I had that two screens up on the computer, one with you, one with the estimator. And, you know, I was kind of watching every fish and you'd say, oh, it's coming, it's turning, oh, no. And then just next cast.
Oh, that's right. And that, again, you know, 5 years ago, we'd fish that lagoon. I'd go in, I'd throw stick minnows, crankbaits. And all I'm doing is I'm fishing exactly the same structure in the same boat with the same rod and reel and maybe lure. All I'm doing now is every time I make a cast, it's at a high percentage of catching a fish because it's in the right area.
Yeah.
Because even though there are fish everywhere, if I can land my lure in line with the fish every time, maybe I have a 50% greater chance of hooking one. And maybe I don't see all the fish, so maybe I'm missing the fish where they're there and I can't see them. I'm not even throwing in that area. So the difference between live sonar and traditional fishing isn't much, but put it this way, last time I went to Marlo, I caught 2, and this time I caught 5 on my best day. So yeah, I reckon it must make me 125% more efficient.
Something like that. How good is that? Very, very good. All right, mate. Well, look, like I said, it was very good viewing. You ended up coming in second place. What was the payout? What did you get to take home for second place?
Well, we famously, our grand finals are winner take all. So first prize, $95,000 boat. Second prize was a pair of sunnies and a fishing rod, but I gave that to Mario in third because young Mikey would have needed those, not me. So, there you go. It was 0.
You got a badge.
I got a badge, and I'm very proud of that badge. In fact, I'm proud of the fact this year I came second in the Open, the Australian Open, and second in the grand final. So it's more lucrative coming second in the Australian Open, but it's always hard to get an interview with Deethy after these events, especially when you got the best of the best together. So anytime you can get a badge, I'm stoked. Anytime I can get an interview with Deethy, I'm even more stoked.
Very good, mate. Me too. All right, mate. Probably, I guess, the last interview for you for the year. Mate, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? Anyone you want to say thank you to, recognition?
Yeah, I think Nicole Smith, our tournament director. Because she works so hard, I get to go fishing all the time. So I respect someone who's got that work ethic. They can keep it all together, even if some idiot leaves the weigh bags at home. That's why you saw those funny yellow weigh bags. They were abalone bags from the tackle shop up the road.
Oh, cool.
I stuck my hand up saying, yeah, I forgot. I actually made the mistake of washing them and cleaning them. I did wash them. Timmy's son washed them. But anyway, I pulled them out. They were cleaned. I never put them back in the van, so that was my fault. She runs a great team. The weigh-ins look fantastic, and I get to go fishing. So thanks to her, thanks to Daiwa and all the ABT sponsors. Daiwa are seriously invested in bream fishing. I hope we do them proud with the events that we do. The fact that there was 2 Daiwa using anglers at first and second at the end of the third day, I think was fitting. Sponsor karma for everybody. And all the ABT sponsors, like how good was the boat? The Mercuries and Alloy Crafts of the world, Green Marine Batteries, get Garmin, 22 grand worth of Garmin gear on one boat.
Yeah.
So the industry pulls together big time to make ABT work, and I'm grateful for that. And the anglers that come along, like they all invest lots of their own money and time and family time to come and do it. And to have them all sitting there and all contributing to the estimator scoreboard, for God's sake, they took trackers at Gippsland Lakes. Victorians took trackers. Knocked me over with a feather. Thanks, guys, because that makes the experience for you, Deethy, watching from afar, all the better, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. Both great events, and it was good to see them down there.
So basically, there you go. I think everyone. There you go. You too, Deethy. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, mate. No, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for being a supporter as well. Definitely. All right, mate. As always, very, very good to talk to you, and I look forward to talking to you again shortly.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks. All right. There you have it. We're nearly all the way through. This interview was too big to put it all in one show, so I've split it in half. We've got the winners report either in the next couple of days or next week. It's definitely coming shortly. I hope you enjoyed that. If you're looking for a little bit more, you could always jump onto the collective and join in there at brimfishingproject.supercast.com. Apart from that, I'm going to roll the outros. I'm going to talk to you shortly.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.